Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorry I Like This podcast. I'm Ezra, and I'm joined by Caleb as always. Caleb, how you doing?
I am awake. I have been
Same.
awoken from a slumber that I did not expect uh, to happen.
Yes.
Basically, January is usually a dry month when it comes to games, movies, television, anything that you could think of, uh,
Hmm.
especially with announcements. So, um, you can imagine my surprise when I found out that there was uh, this happening, and we just got done watching what happened. Ezra, what happened?
We had a state of play.
That's right. We had a state of play out of the nowhere, out of the blue. I did not expect it.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. Um, I thought maybe in February we could get it, late February
Well,
into March. It usually seems to be the trend.
we'll get into this later, but we are technically getting a state of play in February.
It's very true. Yeah,
um.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that'll be later on in our coverage. Yeah. So we have everything. I don't know if we're gonna talk about everything for a super long time. Um, but yeah, we're gonna do mostly uh, state of play coverage today, and then I'm standing on the precipice of two games that I'm trying to play,
Mhm.
trying to get through. Uh,
Yeah, Ezra's being tested right now.
yeah, I'm
He he, he is getting a full Thanksgiving feast
yeah,
right
yeah.
now
I'm getting like
content.
Thanksgiving plus Christmas dinner. I feel like
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
it's yeah. I'm in because I have Grand Blue Fantasy Relink coming
Mhm,
out uh tomorrow tonight technically.
mhm.
Persona 3 Reload comes out on Friday, and then Honkai Star Rail 2.0 comes out on the 6th. So I don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
to beat these games. I mean, I have time. It's
Well,
fine
it's
if I don't beat them in the first week. It's okay, but it's still like ah.
right. Well, it's funny because we're recording this on a different day than our usual day because we wanted to adapt to the release schedule for you.
Yeah, yeah,
And the ironic thing is they put a state of play
yeah,
on the same day we planned on recording, so it ended up working out well in our favor.
yeah. I would say
Um,
so. Yeah. Um.
s-
So, all right. I think we can jump right into it, unless you had
yeah,
something else you wanted to add.
nope.
So first off, we got a new trailer for Helldivers. Uh,
Which honestly, I thought this one was a little weird, and I'll explain why I think this one was a little weird. Um, in that, I mean, it makes sense in the time frame of the release. It's just you get to the last portion of the trailer, and it's just like you even pointed it out, Ezra. It was like what did he specifically said?
Metal
It's like
Gear.
post-launch. Well,
Oh,
yeah, exactly. It was like post-launch content or something like that, and it wasn't like if it wasn't like a collab or anything. I mean, we
yeah,
joked it was Metal Gear, but it was like it was something that you could have put in there, and none of us would have thought it was post
yeah.
game content. Like it was just so like they act like it was a big reveal,
And it
but it just
just yeah,
that was weird to me. I don't get that part. That was the weirdest part of the trailer for me. But what were
yeah,
your thoughts?
yeah. I mean, I keep seeing Helldivers 2, and I keep wondering what's the point. Um,
Hmm.
Maybe that's just like I haven't played the first Helldivers, so maybe I just don't have that context. That's certainly possible. Um, but yeah, I do wonder, I do think this game is going to set something of a precedent for Sony's live service push. Um,
Mm.
but otherwise, I'm kind of in a sort of wait and see state with this game. Like, I'm probably not going to play it anyways, but I'm interested to see how it does. Just in the general public, because live services have really been on the downturn. And I think for a lot of people, Suicide Squad kind of ended up being the nail in the coffin.
Oh, jeez, man. I haven't looked too much into it, but I heard about the pre-launch
Yeah.
incident. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Where the game shut down on its pre-launch?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Oh
was
my gosh.
a disaster, right? And this is not uncommon in the live service space. So
Right.
it's hard to I don't know.
It's yeah. It's just it's you know what it is? It's the perfect metaphor for how this game has gone since its initial announcement. Like,
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like it's like the sort of like you can't write this. You couldn't make that up,
Mhm.
right? Like
Exactly.
it's such a like lightning in a bottle moment for a game that has had such a rough go of it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm trying to think of the game that I'm. Well,
Anthem?
yeah. Well, I was trying to think of a game. I don't want to say it's like the cyberpunk situation because that was a whole other thing. But it was
Yeah.
like maybe Jedi Survivor type of situation.
Mm,
Well, Jedi Survivor didn't have the whole world against it.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Jedi Survivor was like that was a letdown. This
Mhm.
was like people were actively rooting against it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
that's Helldivers.
Helldivers, yeah, there's not really much to say more to it. I mean,
It doesn't
the
look
Helldivers
horrible.
is, yeah, it just it doesn't look fun. Is that the best way to say
Yeah.
it? Like I don't like it. It doesn't look horrible. It looks like it's designed very well, but it doesn't look like I would have fun past an hour on that game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those games
And
that I could play if I was getting paid to play video games.
yeah, exactly.
But I'm not getting paid. So um all right, moving on to I'm excited about this one. Stellar Blade,
Oh yeah.
which um it was technically slated for 2023, and then in the last week of 2023 they were like, hey, it's delayed to 2024, and everyone was like, yeah, of course. um
Mhm.
Coming out April 26th, pretty exciting. This game has been in development for like probably 5 years at this point.
Mhm.
Made by a Korean dev team.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if this is. I'm not sure like if this is their first game or not. Very heavily inspired by Nier Automata. You could.
Oh yeah.
It's written all over the game, from the main
Yeah,
character's design. Like it's
I would agree.
very very obvious. and I've been looking
But of
forward to this
course,
one.
that's the reason why we're intrigued.
Yeah, I mean it does look good. I do think something about the facial animation starts to like reach into the uncanny valley for me, which I don't usually get that with video games. So I don't know if that's just like the art style they chose, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that they look too pretty. Maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, I mean the game continues to look good. It has I think it shows a lot of promise. It looks like it's sort of, it's taking the sort of near setting, but then taking some stuff from like Dark Souls in its combat, combat flow, right? Rather than just like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like as like slow and methodical as a Souls game, but like in that same sort of like grounded, not as fast, not as like twitchy. Which maybe I'm wrong. We haven't seen a whole lot of gameplay. And what we didn't see a lot of like combos. We saw a lot of her like getting hit or doing a super move or something like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah. What did you think about it?
Well, for me, I really liked it. I mean, it's to me it looks fun. I think there's a lot of things, and you kind of hint at it with the uncanny valley on the design portion, but also in the aspect of there's just something about it that just it could be really fun. But my worry is this type of game could be either very short, or there could be some pacing issues that I'm
Yeah.
a little worried about with it. Also, um, the repetition is another thing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm worried. I don't know if I've seen enough to judge how much uh how much how the combat's going to feel over time.
Yeah.
Um, and those are two things that I'm really like wanting to hear more about. Um,
I
and
agree.
that'll come with the reviews itself. Is this a day one buy for me? I would say probably not. I would have to find out what the reviews are in order to get it. But if the reviews are even close to spectacular or even close to, oh my God, this is really good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be not necessarily a day one buy, but it could be a week one buy or a week
Yeah.
two. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so I wanna wait it out, but at the same time, it's on my radar, and I
Yeah.
think it's been on my radar for a couple years now. And I hope they knock it out of the park. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you echoed the same thoughts or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more likely to pick it up day one. Mostly just because I've been sort of following this game for most of its existence. Back when it was called Project Eve, it
That's
used
right.
to be called that.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I do want to see more because you're right. We haven't seen a lot of combat in its kind of natural state. We see a lot of like jumps and different like cool set pieces, but not cool like, okay, what can I do? We did see she unlocks a double jump, which is cool. So we'll
Mhm.
see, but yeah. Um, all right, moving right along. We got probably the most exciting trailer for me, which was Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, which was So I heard about this specifically before the state of play. I heard about this because there was a whole bunch of stuff with like generations not being on Steam and or not being in this like Steam sale and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, Generations is getting a port. That's cool. Console people can play it on
Right.
modern hardware. I like that idea a lot. Um, and then, midway through the trailer, Shadow shows up, and I'm like, okay, so that part of the leak was real. Because I was sort of thinking like, that sounds a little too based of Sega, right?
Yeah.
Like that sounds like a little too good to be true.
Yeah, it sounds like a fan writing that portion in just to,
Yeah,
get everybody excited, and even though that's not like something that would be like in the pipeline type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Because Shadow's a character. He was playable in Forces,
Mhm.
but for one, his moveset was exactly the same as Sonic's in that game.
Mhm.
And two, he had three original stages, and and then he was playable in a select few Sonic stages in Forces. So it was like, okay, he's not. It's like it's kind of lackluster the
Mhm.
way he's playable. Um, Beyond that, it has been a very long time since we've been able to play as Shadow the Hedgehog, and even longer since he
Mhm.
felt relevant. Um,
Mhm.
So I've felt a little bit like, aside from maybe like side material, Sega doesn't care about that character anymore, which is
Mhm.
fine. Um, Now I've been proven wrong because Shadow's getting a whole expansion or whatever it is on
Mhm.
top of the base of Sonic Generations, um,
Yeah.
and I I've watched the trailer twice, and I still don't exactly have any idea what's going on. Uh, like I keep looking at it, and I'm like, okay, what's the like? Is it is it an expansion? Is it going to take place in the same like time? Is it I have so many questions about how this works. Um, because this wasn't in the base generations, which is
Mhm.
also part of this. That game is also getting ported. So is and Shadow's doing uh it's not just like, oh, Shadow's playable like he was in Forces, but he's basically just
Mhm.
Sonic. He's doing like chaos control and chaos. He's doing
Yep.
like Shadow stuff
Oh yeah.
in the trailers. So it's like, okay, they clearly did a lot of work on
Mhm.
on this to make it Shadow, distinctly Shadow, not just Sonic reskinned. So I have a lot of questions, Caleb. I don't know. I know you haven't played
Well.
Generations, but I wonder what you think.
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you this much. It took me back. It definitely took me back to
Yeah,
um, the Shadow game all those years ago. Like I mean, when Shadow showed up in the beginning of well, at the halfway point of the trailer, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was like, oh, and then we started diving into the gameplay of it. I'm like, oh, oh, this is actually going to be something that is going to be mixing the two, and I was not expecting that, and
yeah,
I got pretty hyped myself. I was like, oh, okay, okay. So I think it's pretty cool, and honestly, I'm excited to hear more about it. I'm curious. The biggest thing that I was curious about, and it's kind of being more clear that it is an expansion, but at first it felt like it was an entirely separate game. Um,
yeah.
throughout the trailer. So it was like,
Well,
I'm
because
like, is this a follow up or is this a expansion? And it looks like it's going to be expansion. I don't know
yeah,
I haven't looked at the press release on it yet because like we said, this is like fresh off of the state of play. So I haven't
yeah,
even like looked at some of the press releases on some of these games. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Um, yeah, yeah. There's okay, okay. There is a okay, okay. So there is a newly released press release, and it says, okay, Shadow the Hedgehog is back and teaming up with classic and modern Sonic in Sonic X Shadow Generations, an all new collection featuring 2 unique experiences. Play as Shadow the Hedgehog in a brand new story campaign featuring never before seen powers and abilities. When Shadow's old nemesis, Black Doom, reemerges and threatens to take over the world, Shadow must journey into his own past, confront painful memories, face familiar foes, and unlock new powers to save the world and prove why he's known as the ultimate life form. And it includes both that and a complete remaster of Sonic Generations, which I would
So
argue,
it's beefy.
yeah, this is a whole project. Uh, and I would say, there is, for me, there's a very strong argument that Generations is the best Sonic game gameplay wise. Um,
Hmm.
and maybe even visually, actually. Um, so, if the Shadow stuff is good, they cooked, right? Because this is
Oh
this
yeah.
this is probably best case scenario for this remaster. So so yeah, looks good. Can't. I have to see a little bit more of it. Which all this Sonic talk is reminding me, Caleb. I need to talk to you later about something. But anyways, moving on. Uh, Triple C. So this is about Zenless Zone Zero, which is triple Z, not C. But we are in the middle of the thing, so I can understand why you heard that. So this is just saying that the new
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was like in the middle of like all the audio that was going on at the same time. I'm like,
yeah,
did he say C or Z?
yeah.
So I put a big question mark.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this is Zenless Zone Zero. This is the new Hoyoverse game that's coming out sometime.
Hmm.
Not much to say about it. Otherwise, it's coming to PS5. That's cool. Um, if you're excited for that. Um,
Yeah.
we got another Foam Stars trailer.
Yeah. I mean, it looked exactly the same from the other trailers that we've seen.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This, and I was saying this in the show itself, and this is where it would have been cool. And I guess to most people they probably didn't notice that until they actually watched the state of play. But it would have been cool if they had not released the fact that Foam Stars was going to be a day one thing
Yeah.
on PlayStation Plus, like before the
Agreed.
actual state of play, because that would have been a cool like. I still wouldn't play it, but I would I would be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool to see because yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
it's it's a good marketing strategy I think to do
Yeah.
it that way for that game. I don't know what do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel similar. I think it's very much a tried and true method to sort of
Hmm.
uh, to launch a game on PS Plus and have that like initial burst of popularity. Because you know, Rocket League and Fall Guys are not like the
Exactly.
most popular games nowadays, but people still play them. So
Well, even just look at the boom on
yeah,
those games when they initially launched. I don't think if you asked me if they were paid releases, and I
yeah,
still believe this to this day, if they were paid full price paid releases, it would not have that even cult following that it
agreed.
would to today. So I mean, Foam Star. If you're a studio and you're looking at Foam Stars, you're looking at the reception of it. Say you've been hard at work at this game. You need a player base in order to make this game playable.
Yeah,
I think the smartest way to get like to get actual revenue is to do it that way.
yeah,
Because I even mentioned this, earlier to Ezra, like that's a way for them to boost in-game purchases. Like
yeah,
it's the easiest way. Now you don't do it too much to where the
yeah,
game's not playable, but
yeah,
that's the smartest way that you can do. That would be pretty fun. I mean, this could be the next Fall Guys for all we know, but to me, it's too similar to Splatoon
yeah.
to be something that's like the next Fall Guys type of situation. But I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I mean, the caveat to that is Splatoon is a Switch exclusive, so you know
Exactly.
it does that audience transfer to PlayStation is a massive question.
I tell you what, though, if it is successful, that's gonna like
Yeah.
boost the Nintendo game devs to
Oh yeah.
make a fourth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because I don't think 3 launched that very well, if I'm not mistaken.
Um, I don't know. I don't
I know it
remember what
did
the numbers.
overseas, but
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers look like for Splatoon 3. Um, because 2 was like, okay, yeah, we have an
mhm,
IP on our hands. Because 1 being
exactly.
on the Wii U, that's like, okay, that's not really fair to
Yeah.
anything. Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
yeah,
But yeah, I think 2 was bigger than 3, if I'm not mistaken. But
that's certainly possible. Um, Moving on, they had a pretty cool reveal for Dave the Diver, which is coming to
mhm.
PS5. Caleb, you got kind of excited about this.
I I I did because the game itself looks pretty fun. I mean, it's a port, but all of a sudden it cuts to black and a certain uh a certain song starts playing and I instantly recognized it
Eh,
and I was like, "Oh, it's Godzilla."
yep.
I'm like, "Uh-oh." And then he started coming out of the water and at first I thought it was an entirely separate trailer and I was like, "Oh no, this kind of looks like the King Kong situation we had last year," because I was looking at the style,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and then I realized it was still David the Diver, and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, that's pretty cool." It was like
Yeah.
it was a complete 180 of me getting concerned versus you know knowing what it was. You know,
Yeah.
made me ease a little bit in my
Agreed.
panic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel similar. I feel like um, I haven't played Dave the Diver. I do think it's a little bit of a weird call to have Godzilla in a game like
Yeah.
that, but I also don't know what the gameplay loop of Dave the Diver is,
Hmm.
so who knows? Maybe it's a perfect fit. Um, yeah, yeah, it looked cool. Um,
Yeah.
Moving on, this was kind of a nothing burger for me. This is V
Yeah.
Rising, which is a top down action survival RPG.
Hmm.
Didn't really.
It's about all the info we could kind of give on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look bad. It just looked kind of normal. You know, it was riffing on that Diablo formula.
It was very much standard. We're in the middle of the showcase. Here's a
Yeah,
game that we want to showcase that's probably not going to do that very well,
yeah.
but we know it's
Well,
coming.
and after, I mean, you know, much hate to the Game Awards, but there was that like that moment where this guy he came up and was like, yeah, I've been working on this game because of my dad. You know, I've
Hmm.
been dedicating this to my dad, and I feel like all like mid showcase trailers like that suffered because of that, because that was a cool moment, right?
Hmm.
Um, Whereas
Yeah.
like this is just kind of like, okay, it's just kind of there. Um, so yeah, I mean, probably won't be bad. We'll see. Um,
Yeah.
and then we got a really cool shadow drop for Silent Hill: The Short Message, which is like out right now.
Yeah.
Like you could just go, you could play that instead of listening to us. um, uh, you know, I don't know anything about Silent Hill, so like if
Uh-huh.
there was stuff that was like uh if something was like, you know, communicated in the trailer, it went over my head. So Kayla,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know more, but yeah, that's kind of
Oh,
where
I
I'm
don't
coming
know
from.
anything. But I
Okay.
will say it is cool to see this franchise, getting resurrected. And
Yeah.
I looking at the gameplay of the short message, it looked really fun. Um, it
Yeah.
looked really fun of something that absolutely I would play. Um, I I don't know how in terms of game length it's going to be, or even price about it if it is much. But the I would get it if it's not that if it's not like a full price game. Um, just to play one evening, and I think it would be a lot of fun. Like I think this
Yeah.
is one of those type of games that's like this is something that you sit down one time, you have a good time, and that's and then you leave it to rest because it looks fun. It doesn't seem like it's something that like, oh my god, I need to dedicate all my time to. But
Yeah.
it's it's interesting. It looks interesting,
Yeah.
and I thought it's interesting. This is the weird part about the trailer is like, and could be just from the stream itself, but anytime it went to a cinematic, it didn't look so good. But when it was in game, it actually looked really well done, well polished.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That could have been just the stream itself, but that was something that I did know while watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having trouble looking up the actual like where, like, you know, what it is, because it's
Hmm.
not listed in a lot of places. But yeah, it looked cool. We also got an update on Silent Hill 2,
Hmm.
the remake of Silent Hill 2, which it's still happening.
Yep.
It doesn't look
I feel
bad.
like that's what that trailer was all about. Like
Yeah.
it was just kind of like we're still working on it. We have no
Yeah.
release date, but here's a little bit to keep you satisfied for a little bit.
Yeah.
Something a other franchise should probably do so, but
Yeah.
that's a soapbox for later.
Yeah. And then uh yeah, it looked good though. I can't fault them. I'm glad that Konami isn't like, I feel like they're slowly starting to like break out of the like Kojima
Hmm.
PTSD kind of thing, like
Yep.
where they don't feel like Kojima has to have his hands in everything anymore.
Hmm.
So that's good. Then we got to look at Judas, which is the game from Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock. Um, Looks very BioShock.
Yep. Uh, it, Yeah, I mean, it looks fun. It's just
Yeah,
not the type of game that I would play. Like,
yeah,
I'm happy for the the fans of the BioShock series. Trying to you know getting something that's from the original creator. Not quite the same, but it is something that you know. Uh, it's kind of similar to like Outer Worlds was, right?
yeah,
Where fans of the Fallout series got something from those creators, from those same minds, but it's not quite the same. You know, that's kind of like my thoughts on it. Uh, but the one thing I will say at this point in the state of play, we were cooking. We'll just put it that way. We got. There was the Dave the Diver and V Rising. That kind
yeah,
of middle ground. But then all of a sudden, Silent Hill, Silent Hill got
yeah.
a trailer drop, and then Judas, which could have been easily saved for the end. So this is where, and my point, where I had low expectations for the state of play. I was starting to be like, oh, this is a state of play that I need to pay attention to.
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
um, so I will say this would, even though I'm downplaying, Judas and you know a couple of these titles of like, yeah, it looks good. It's not really my cup of tea. I will say, make no mistake, those fans of those franchises are happy today,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's pretty cool to see.
yeah, absolutely. It is. Uh, it is definitely one of the better state of plays we've gotten, for sure. Um, moving on to Legendary
Hmm.
Tales, which Caleb and I had the same brain cell about, because we were watching, and I was thinking like,
Well, he was like a second faster than me from saying some of this stuff, and
yeah,
it was funny because every time he would say it, I was about to say it.
yeah,
It's hilarious.
and I was like, because I was like, because it's a VR action game basically, um,
Hmm.
and you're fighting like uh, fighting skeletons to this bombastic soundtrack, and I was like, man, this could have been a Pirates of the Caribbean VR game. And then they show
Yeah.
them him throwing the shield, and it's like, oh, that's Captain America. And then they do the lightning with the Thor hammer, and it's like, oh, that's Thor. Um, so it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also looked kind of janky.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely did. I agree. Uh. It's like we were making fun of it, and it was cool to like find all this stuff that was, yeah, definitely like we know where your inspiration was off of
Yeah,
it. But like when actually looking at the trailer, it did not look that very
yeah,
good. But that
um,
thus is the case with VR for me, anyways.
yeah,
But
yeah. And then we got Metro Awakening, which is also a VR game. Looks to be more of like in
mhm.
the horror space. Um, I would say it looked cleaner than
Mhm.
Legendary Tales, but
Absolutely.
other than that, I already don't like horror games, so I'm not gonna
Mhm.
play this game. That's not gonna happen. Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add about Metro?
Nope, that that was exactly it for me.
Yeah.
Not really much for me to say on
Yeah.
that one.
Um, and then Caleb, we got some cool trailers for some stuff coming out. Sort of down the line.
Mhm.
In kind of the same time frame. Do you want to talk about those for a second?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we got was Capcom came in out of the nowhere, and
Yeah.
I thought at first that it was Monster Hunter
Yeah,
for just
we
a brief
both did.
second, and I was like, oh wow, we're getting another trailer, an actual trailer already. When is this game coming out? And then we had the realization it was Dragon's Dog, but very quickly. Um, and it looks good. It looks fun. I mean the it looks fun to an extent that it also reminds me, and this is the thing, like, I know this game was loved and everything. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And maybe I didn't give it another shot. I'm trying to think of its name. Oh yeah, it was Dragon Age Inquisition. Um, I wasn't too big of a fan of it. It wasn't my cup of tea,
Yeah,
but
it's
it reminds me of that type of mix with uh the designs of what you would see from Skyrim itself. So that was a little bit interesting. But I mean, they're all virtually very close to being the same thing, anyways. But it looks fun. I don't know. I think this is definitely one that I'd probably skip, even though a lot of people like it.
yeah, yeah. I
I think.
feel similarly.
And then that comes out on March 22nd, and then the other thing that comes out on March 22nd is actually Rise of the Ronin.
Yep.
So the this was planned. The two things that we knew that was going to be in the state of play was Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin. It looks good. Looks like an Assassin's Creed Ghost of Tsushima copycat, but
Yep.
I mean, uh, both games I love. So I mean, this one is very similar to Stellar Blade, where it's on my radar, but I
Yeah.
want to know more on reviews before I play this one, because it's like it could be fun, but it also could be, I don't know. There's an element to it to where I feel like I could get bored a little easily.
Yeah. I feel similarly. I feel like I feel like Rise of the Ronin, the thing that it has going for it is that it's made by a Japanese developer,
Mm-hmm.
so that like historical Japan element of it will be more authentic. But beyond that, when I look at it, I do like you said, I do just see Assassin's Creed mixed with Ghost of Tsushima, which is already, Ghost of Tsushima is already riffing on that Assassin's Creed formula. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard to kind of separate those two things, but it doesn't look bad by any
yeah,
stretch. I don't think any single game we saw here looked horrible.
yeah. I would agree with that.
Sometimes you get something and you're like, what was that trailer? But this time I don't think we really got any of that. So yeah, and then
Uh,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say the other, like, I was just gonna move on to the other game,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff. The other big game that got announced was, well, it's I wouldn't call it an announcement, but it's something that, like, yeah, I guess it would be an announcement. But this was a big reveal, and I was really happy to see it get revealed. The Until Dawn is getting uh, released on PS5 and PC,
Yep.
so it was really cool to see it actually being a thing, because I know we've heard rumors of it, and we know that there's going to be a film in development. So this franchise is back.
Yeah.
um, and I think fans are going to be really excited for it.
Yeah, it
But
looks good. I mean, I think it was one of those things like I wish I had clocked that they announced the movie ahead of the remaster.
Hmm.
Just because
Yeah.
as soon as I saw it, as soon as I put together that it was Until Dawn, I was like, oh, that's why the movie's getting made, right? Like that,
Yeah.
it kind of clicked together in my head. But yeah, I think it's a good call because that studio has kind of continued to make that style of game. So having that be
Hmm.
available on modern hardware is a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then uh, kind of the last big thing, the last thing really, the last
Hmm.
game that they showed was Death Stranding 2. Got a very
Yep.
uh, long Kojima style
Hmm.
trailer for it. Uh, we have a friend who's a very big Kojima head who would have
Oh
a
yeah.
lot to say about it.
And he was very big into Death Stranding itself too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
the
I would
the
say he was relatively mixed on Death Stranding when it came out, but he was still
yeah,
like he's the only one of us that actually played it. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that is, yeah, he did have a lot of thoughts now that I think about it. It's cool to see us get an update on it, considering it was absent from the Game Awards.
yeah,
Uh, but that's because of the other announcement. Uh, oh, I didn't even write this down in the notes. There was another thing Kojima revealed,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
um, but I'll continue on with Death Stranding 2 for a second. The gameplay looks fun. It's kind of like you said. Uh, well, I'll let your thoughts be on that, but the gameplay itself looks fun. There's not.
yeah,
I feel like it's totally Kojima game. Like, there's no denying that. It's
yeah,
just something that I don't know if that's might necessarily like the gameplay itself, and I felt this with the first Death Stranding too. Um, it just doesn't look that engaging to me.
yeah.
Is the thing? It's like it's definitely rich in lore. Like if you're
Oh
into
yeah,
it, you're into it. But I don't think, and obviously, I'm sure I would have a great time with it. It's just when I get to the gameplay aspect, I haven't been sold on it, as opposed to like a Metal Gear or what I mean, just past
yeah,
Kojima work, and it's just that's kind of my thing, which is why I never played Death Stranding, the first Death Stranding. But yeah, I don't know. What
yeah.
about?
I feel the same way. I do think, uh, I'm not. How do I put this? I think I kind of I gotta be a little honest. I kind of lost interest when Troy Baker showed up. I don't know
Yeah.
if he was in the first game. I don't know, but something about just character played by Troy Baker wearing Joker makeup felt so like there's something so like boring about that to me.
Hmm.
And it's not that Troy. It's not like anybody's fault. It's just like I feel like I've seen that. Like that feels like such an uncreative thing. Um, Whereas like at least the first
Yeah.
Death Stranding, it was like Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, all of these actors. Norman Reedus and I don't think Mads Mikkelsen is in this game, but Norman Reedus is at least. But yeah, I definitely felt like okay. I think I said this like okay, I'm just here watching Troy Baker do Troy Baker things again, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not didn't feel that interesting, I guess. And
Well, it's like
they did have. Go
we
ahead.
just seen Troy Baker in Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
like not but 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of like I like Troy Baker. I like pretty much everything that he's in, and I've liked his performances and everything.
Yeah.
But he's also in everything.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be a massive hater, but it was like it was like a massive like it was like a thing in my head where I was like, okay, I'm here again. When is it gonna end? Right? Like, especially since the trailer went on for quite some time.
That was the funny part about it, though. It was like as soon as I noticed Death Stranding came up, see, we were cooking like
Oh
throughout
yeah,
this whole
absolutely.
entire show, and we get to like I said, that point when I talked about earlier with Judas, I'm like, man, we're only halfway through the showcase. Like, what else do they have in store? So that's when I got really excited. I mean, Death Stranding 2 is by no means. It is definitely a big drop.
Yeah.
But the thing was, it was 10 minutes left in the showcase, and the moment I saw Death Stranding 2, I was like, oh, that's the whole time.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, I've been in this situation before. I know how Kojima is, and that's okay. Let's just sit back, enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Pretty much all you can do,
Yeah. And it was funny because like somewhere in the trailer they said edited by Hideo Kojima, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a Kojima trailer, right? Like it felt very much like I was in for the long haul, and I definitely was. So yeah. Before we move on, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Death Stranding 2?
Not Death Stranding 2 specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was one last one, and actually, I don't think they actually said it in the show, but they announced that Kojima is making another game with PlayStation. Like they're partnering. And it's an action espionage game called Fizzant.
Oh, that's the actual name.
That's the name according to Gamatsu.
Title.
That's the name. That's a weird title.
I bet it's a working title.
I hope it is. I mean, really, is Death Stranding that much better?
Fair enough.
Metal Gear, I think that works.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Death Stranding, it's like, okay. It sounds a little pretentious. But anyways, and they very elegantly danced around the Metal Gear thing because I have forgotten his name. Yeah, but the guy who was kind of he was saying like, yeah, I love this genre, and Kojima, I was excited for Kojima to return to this genre, and I was like, okay, yeah, they're very clearly alluding to the fact that Kojima has made.
Oh, it is a working title.
Oh, it is? Okay, yeah,
that's good. Kojima tweeted Fizzant, and then in parentheses, working title. Will be the third new original IP since the establishment of Kojima Productions.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I there's not much else to say about it. They did tease, they teased that Sony's movie side of the company is going to be working on it, which is interesting. Um, whether or not that means like they'll be doing like cutscene direction or whatever it is, that remains to be seen. But it could be good. We haven't seen anything from it, which yeah. But I do feel I feel like if this game comes out and like because Death Stranding, I guess we didn't say Death Stranding's coming out in 2025. So this game is probably not coming out until literally like 2030, right? Like where that like I don't want to be that down on it, but like we got this game, we got OD in the pipeline, we got Death Stranding 2. Like it's gonna be a while before we see Fizzant. So, but it's exciting, I guess. It's exciting. It's exciting to hear that he's like returning to his roots, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Caleb, we got one more thing at the end.
We did get the one more thing that almost made me. It almost made me lose my mind, but at the same time, it was predictable and like I didn't see. To put in perspective, usually when there's a release coming out, about a month to 2 months beforehand, I stop watching stuff for that release just to get a clear mind. Because when I do watch stuff that's like close to release, I will remember that from like trailers and stuff, and I'll get to the like there could be like someone like faking a death or something, or you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, he shows up later,
Yeah. I haven't seen that scene yet, and he's in there. Yeah.
Exactly. So I tried to avoid that. So, but I was really excited to see the State of Play returning next week. No rest for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I mean, it's really cool. I'm sure. I don't know if I'll watch it. I'll be honest. And it's not, like I said, it's not to just because I have no interest. I actually have all the interest in it.
Yeah.
And it's going to take every ounce of energy to not watch it.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. We talked about it showing up today, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think having a whole State of Play dedicated to Rebirth is a good thing?
I think it makes sense. I don't know if it's. I do think it's weird that it wasn't all in one show because it's literally a week away from when we're recording this, right? Like it's.
Right.
I'm not even sure how, like, if it's like an hour-long thing, then okay, I can kind of see splitting it up. Like, I could kind of see that. But if it's like 15 minutes, right?
Right.
We watched Summer Game Fest, right? Like, that's 2 hours.
Yeah.
So like
I guess my thing is they did it with FF16.
Yeah.
And I think that was like 20 minutes, to be honest.
Yeah. So it feels like they're holding out for no reason. Is kind of my ultimate feelings. So like I don't think it's like a bad thing for 7R to get State of Play all to itself, because their Nintendo Directs have like they do Zelda Directs and Pokemon Directs, they do stuff like that. So like I'm not like torn up about that, but I do think it's like weird. It's weird that it's a week away because that usually doesn't happen. Especially given, we're probably due up for a Nintendo Direct sometime
Yeah.
soon.
And that was the other thing I was going to mention. Exactly. I mean, I would say it's on the horizon.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get a Direct before State of Play, and now we're getting
Yeah.
2 of them. So
yeah, I mean it is. I'm not sure. That people are going to be saying like, oh, the Nintendo Directs this week. They're going to say that every week, but it is probably on the horizon. So I don't know. I will say 7 Remake having its own State of Play about like a little bit less than a month away from the actual release basically confirms the existence of a demo in my head.
yeah.
And they were like, yeah, there's some news that, people are going to be really excited for, so stay tuned. So I'm like, yeah, they're releasing a demo. But otherwise, yeah, it's just kind of...
Do you think there's a chance? Do you think there's a chance we get something else that's not Final Fantasy related?
Okay. To answer that... I'm gonna say no, because Gematsu indicates that it's dedicated to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yeah, no, we're not getting Kingdom Hearts. I was thinking, I was genuinely like, okay, they could show Kingdom Hearts here, and that would be awesome. I wasn't like holding out hope, but I was like, yeah, they could show it. I don't think they showed it at 7 Remake.
Well, it was really funny. I mean, kind of the thing. Well, sorry, my brain went somewhere else. It was funny going into this showcase. I was like, yeah, it's not happening. I was like, I was very sure it wasn't going to happen, and but tomorrow could see something next week.
Sure, I no, I don't know. I as much as I want it to happen, and I do want it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's going to. I will say, there's a shot we get. I think you mentioned this. There's a shot we get like a tease about whatever the next game is called.
Yeah.
Right, because it'd probably be. It's like the Matrix movies, Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolution, or whatever. So we'll probably get, or we might get, the confirmation, like, this is the title of the next game. But
yeah,
otherwise, it's hard to, I think it's, if I had to guess, the announcement is the demo.
Mm-hmm.
There could be an announcement of like, hey, this character's playable, or something like that. That's possible.
Yeah. There also could be an announcement on post-game content.
Sure.
Though I doubt it, but
Yeah.
I also wouldn't put it. See, here's the thing. I liked how they did with 7 Remake. Like, it was like a year after it was meant to be, quite literally an intermission. Like, I like that idea.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be doing something that's like an expansion pass and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
something that I would imagine if they were going to announce post game content before the release, it would be something that's like that. So I doubt it's that. I doubt it's
Yeah,
anything
I don't think
really.
Square has kind of next to no history of that like
Hmm.
expansion pass style
Hmm.
thing, right? Like, and not that they never could, and it's not like they never do stuff like it, right? They're literally releasing foam stars, but
Yeah.
specifically with like their big like single player RPGs, they don't tend to do
Hmm.
expansion passes or stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of doubt that, but we'll see. I'm probably not gonna watch the state of play, but if there's,
Yeah.
we'll surely be talking about whatever happens with it on the next
Hmm.
podcast. Especially I can say I will probably play the demo. So if
See, that's
if
the
nothing
thing.
else, I can say,
Here's
hey,
the
it looks
only
good.
thing. Here's the only thing. I don't know if I can have the restraint to not play the demo, but I did the first time, and there was a reason for it because I didn't want to start and stop. Right?
Yeah,
Even though I would, I would be very much along the lines of I have to wait several weeks now that I just started it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, well, it's not several weeks, but it feels like several weeks. It feels like an eternity. And rather than I can experience whatever portion of that demo is within the game itself, and it feels like a complete experience is kind of my thing. I know I was very close to doing the demo. Uh,
yeah. It would be nice if uh it
but I'm
would
kind of going through the same. I'm kind of going through the same history. Like history is
yeah.
repeating itself. Like the with remake, I was playing FF15 at the time, and it was a rush to finish it before that, before remake came out. So I might have. I'm playing Nier right now. It's probably going to take me up until the release of it. I
Yeah.
might have something to distract me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder, you know, I do think I will play it just because I am super curious about what uh what it's gonna be like to actually play it. Um but yeah, I am uh I am excited. I mean we're both really excited for Rebirth.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little preoccupied at the moment, but once I'm done with
Yeah.
that, I'll be surely on the hype train.
Hmm.
Yeah. So uh, if you had to give this state of play a letter grade, what would you give it?
I would give it an A.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
I think
A for January. To be perfectly
now,
honest, because this is definitely a showcase. Like this is definitely something that usually PlayStation State of Plays that are in this time of year are not very good. um,
yeah,
it's just something that it's specifically a state of play, and it's not a showcase, like a full on showcase. So I mean that usually. with State of Plays, it's like one big title and a few semi-big titles. You know what I mean? It's not a whole thing. And this one, I mean, we talked how some of this stuff is not really our cup of tea, but they're big names. They're huge. And I think it's pretty unanimous on what our favorite part was
Yeah.
with with Sonic. But the I thought this, especially with like having Silent Hill and Death Stranding 2
Yeah.
in the same presentation, you would that's pretty big in and of itself. So I think they did good. I
Yeah.
would give it an A.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would. I'm gonna say A minus,
Hmm.
only because Death Stranding went on too long.
Yeah,
If Death
and that's
Stranding was a
fair.
little shorter, I don't think there even needed to be anything else. If Death Stranding was a little shorter, I would give it a
Hmm.
higher letter. I think I felt like I was losing the will to live midway
Steam.
through
Yeah,
the Death Stranding trailer.
I
So
get it. Yep.
I want to give credit where it's due because there was a lot of really cool stuff in this state of play. Um, like I feel like every demographic was served
Hmm.
in this state of play, right? Whereas in a
Yeah.
lot of showcases, I'm like, well, I got nothing, and in this
Yep.
showcase, I got two things, but they're very different. So I
Yeah.
think I think A minus for me. Um, yeah. Was there anything else about the state of play you wanted to talk about today?
Um. No, not necessarily for the state of play. There was something that I think we need to address: the elephant in the room.
Okay,
The
let's do it.
This is outside news of the state of play, but we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. There's a disturbance in the force.
Yes.
Okay. Um. Unfortunately, and it's funny that we're talking about this for it being a mobile game, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the idea of it. It's the constant drought we're in, and it's the delay of Missing Link, Kingdom Hearts
Yep.
Missing Link. Like, it wasn't looking too good before, as far as like being hopeful of it coming out anytime soon. But with the closed beta being delayed to April, not April, to spring of this year, with no
Yeah.
context as to what's when it's spring. Like, this could be
Yeah.
in the end of May for all we know. So it's like the 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 constant, you know, us not knowing anything about Kingdom Hearts is kind of getting a little crazy. You know, I think more so for other people than it is for me right now. But it is definitely like, you can tell we're hungry, we're, and to hear the app get delayed again, it just feels like it's delaying everything else. I kind of think, and this is kind of my thoughts on it, but I don't know. How are you feeling of the announcement?
Yeah, I guess I am in a place with Missing Link where I'm just kind of like, all right, when's the game coming out? Right? Like
Hmm.
I'm kind of sick of thinking about it in the context of what it could be, and I'm
Yeah,
more interested in what it will be. Um,
and that's exactly it. I mean, it's like, at this point, if we go on another year, right? Another year of these delays,
yeah.
is there a way that we can move this story to a different type of project? Like, do we have to do this ambitious of a mobile game? Because it's not
Yeah.
clearly at this point. It's something's not working for them, and I think there needs to be a moment of what kind of ambition are we trying to go for?
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Too many platforms? Is it too many um too much content that we have to do? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird split, a weird space to be in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think. I don't know. I think a part of me wonders if it really is just like technical stuff with the
Hmm.
Android version, because that's the only thing that got delayed was the open beta for the
Yeah.
Android version. We haven't had a date for
Hmm.
Missing Link. We have the year 2024, but
Hmm.
otherwise I I don't know. I want to believe in this game,
Hmm.
but I have no reason to believe it'll be a whole lot better than Unchained Key.
Yeah.
Um, but
I think this is going to be turning into, if it keeps going the way it's going, I think we're going to get very much a very similar situation we got Dark Road.
yeah,
I I feel
that's
like
that's possible.
there was an ambitious idea behind it, and then a quick reformat of where they want to go with the mobile market. I think could be something that could switch it up. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I think very well possible we could be just getting a cutscene situation, to be honest.
yeah,
Um, but yeah,
yeah. All
I
right.
just wanted to talk about it. I mean,
Yeah,
it was something that, like, I feel like we couldn't not talk about it.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
I feel like for me, I'm like I just keep putting that game out of my mind,
mhm.
right? Like, because half the time when there's news about it, it's bad news.
Yeah,
So I'm just like,
that's
well,
exactly it.
I just want this game to come out, man.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, we will be patiently waiting. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Uh, all right. Well, I think that's the end of the show for the
Mhm.
most part. Um, next show. Well, Caleb, I wonder. I was wondering. How far into near are you? Out of curiosity.
Okay, so I am about 12 hours in, like
Okay.
actual game time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I've been so my most recent play session was like very side mission focused.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
saying, I think so. Actually, let me ask you this, because
Yeah.
this is something that I've been meaning to ask, and I don't think it's necessarily like, it's not necessarily giving away any opinions or anywhere where I'm at. It's
Yeah.
just more of, I know you talked about, because to give a little context to the audience, like, there's multiple endings to these
Yeah.
type of games. So, this ain't my first rodeo as far as Nier goes. So, um, I guess my question is, you said, now you told me to make sure to get by the end of story B, which I'm still on story A.
Yeah.
by the end of story B, I need to have all the weapons, correct?
Yes.
So, with that being said, that would mean I would have to make sure I'm getting all the side missions, correct? At least to that
Um,
point.
are you?
And it's not that I'm like complaining about it. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's a little bit too
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
To the fact that I'm not actually progressing. So that's why I was actually asking.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I didn't do all of the side missions when I did
okay.
my playthrough. Um, and also, it might be like as long as you reach the very end of ending C,
Hmm.
you can get the alternate ending. Because yeah, I think it might be that way. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I mean, you do want to basically have all the weapons by the end of B, just because
Hmm.
it makes your life easier. Yeah.
Because
Are you still or not still? What was the last thing that happened for
so
you?
the last thing that happened for me was I was as far as main mission wise
Mm-hmm.
goes, I was in the uh village. I forget it. The dream village. I forget what the
Oh,
actual
okay,
name
yeah,
of the village
yeah,
is.
yeah.
But I just did all that stuff. So
Okay,
I'm heading to Seafront again. But
yeah,
but then I got stuck doing side missions.
okay, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I feel like I'm progressing, but I'm not progressing that much. So even though my game time is longer, um, because I think with Automata, I think I got done with it, story A within 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours. I don't think
Yeah.
it was too long. Um, and I guess my fear is as I'm going through it, and I don't think there was much of an issue with Automata in this regard, but my fear is certain side missions getting locked with each
Yeah.
story. Like,
Yeah,
and
there
that's the
is. How do I put this? There is like a point
Mhm.
where. Oh, how do I. I don't know. It's hard to describe without spoiling, but
Mhm.
there is kind of a cutoff point. I guess I'll just say.
Is it
Um,
within the story A, or is it like at the end of story A into B? You can't go
uh,
back.
no, it's within story A.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like it all
That's
happens
cool.
in the
That's what I
same.
needed to know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
I mean, there's just kind of just those questions that
yeah
has been on my mind to ask. That's not spoiler specific. It's
yeah
just more completionist specific, if that makes
yeah.
sense. So
Yeah, gotcha. Oh,
so
excuse
yeah,
me.
I mean, I'm I'm working on it now. You know, uh,
I'm excited
when
to
do
hear
I
what you
think I
think
get
about
it
it.
done? Uh, I don't know necessarily. I'm not sure when we plan on doing the next podcast, but I know what I'll be talking about next podcast, specifically as far as reviews go,
Yeah.
would be God of War
Okay.
Valhalla, because I do got a lot to say about that one.
Yeah.
Um, so I think potentially, depending on how the timing of each when we next record and stuff after that, um, I think potentially I'll be done. I know definitely I'll be done before Rebirth.
Yeah.
Um, that's the goal, but I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to be, depending on how fast I get through story A. Is really the thing.
Yeah.
Once I get my groove going, I don't think. I mean, I do have my groove going now, but it's like knowing the game time that takes for story A, I'll know how long each story is going to take me by that point.
Uh, Actually, each story will take you exactly half of how long story A takes you.
Oh, okay, all right. So I guess that's how it was with Automata too, if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
Uh,
sorta.
although stories, I think C took longer
Well,
than
yeah,
A.
well, so A was like the base 2B
Mm-hmm.
story. B was 9S.
9S, which I
Um,
can't. I don't think lasted more than 6 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it's not a very long campaign from a main story perspective. But then you get C and D, which is concurrently
Hmm.
A2 and 9S.
That's right. I'm grouping C and D together
Yeah.
in my mind.
So yeah, there's about like a 25 to 30 hour game in that,
Hmm.
and I would say Replicant ends up taking longer, but that's
Hmm.
because you end up doing more stuff, I guess.
And that's what I'm kind of noticing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So that's why I was kind of uh, talking about like with my progression of like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kind of doing a little bit more focus on some side stuff. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of fishing today, so that's
Not a
that's
good
been the side
JRPG
quest
if
I've
it
been
doesn't
doing.
have cooking or if it doesn't have
That's
fishing.
right. That's right.
Um, yeah, I mean, for my part, my slumber is coming to an end. I am
Hmm.
being called upon to play
Yep.
the JRPGs of February. Again, I'll be playing Grand Blue Fantasy and Persona 3
Hmm.
over the course of the next few weeks. Uh, 3 is likely to be the longer one of the two because I've heard that Relink, if you're just playing the main story, is like 20 hours, which that doesn't account for side quests. But yeah, I'm looking forward to both of those games. Looking forward to making videos about both of those games. I'm also looking forward to Honkai Star Rail 2.0. That I haven't really talked about it on the show, but that's kind of my main. Like, if there's a live service game I play, it's Honkai Star Rail. And so, like, I'm looking forward to that update quite a bit. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're being challenged. I'm
I
excited to
am.
see. I'm excited to see you pass the test.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how it goes. And yeah, I mean that's why I was like hinting at. I'm like I'm not sure when we're gonna record, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What's our play in that? But I would say
Yeah.
that you know you have much more of a plate than I do
Yeah,
as
yeah,
far as
for
stuff
sure. Yeah, for
that you're
at
into.
least
So
in terms of in at least immediately, absolutely.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
like with Nier, I could take as much time as I want until Rebirth comes, and then
yeah,
Rebirth. I mean, Nier's got to be finished by that point.
yeah.
Like I gotta
No,
finish that. So
I am not
it
in a
it
similar spot with these two
it could be
games.
very well possible I get to like a week before Rebirth comes out, and I've been doing like completionist type stuff, and we get to that week before point, and I just fly through the story at that point where
Yeah,
I just like okay, main scenario only. We are getting this done. You know, type
Well,
of situation.
there are moments when you're playing replicant where like if you're in the later stories, you'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna skip this text for
Yeah.
reasons that will become obvious to you when you get there. But but with these, it's like, okay, I gotta like make sure I'm not lagging behind by the time because I am mostly worried about any overlap with Rebirth. I want to have both of these games done by the time Rebirth comes out. Or I want to finish one of these games and then play Rebirth and then play the game, whatever the other game is. Is Rebirth is at the top of my priority list. But I don't know exactly what I don't know if I have a plan exactly for what our next recording session will be, but we'll chat about that, I'm sure. So Caleb, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about before we sign off?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well,
had a great time.
Yes, I had a good time too. Got a nice and concise short show for you guys today. So, yeah. And with that, I'm sorry I liked that.